Welcome back. My name is Nancy Montella, and I am your language expert. I'm here to talk to you today about feedback. So, if you haven't thought about feedback, and to be honest, we know this is something that we should always get, right? Feedback, just to define terms, is someone's reaction to our performance. So you might say, that sounds kind of subjective, but we're going to really get to what the essence of feedback is and how you should be getting feedback in your classroom. So if right now you're taking language classes or you're about to start language classes, it's really important that you keep this in mind. As learners, if you're someone that hasn't gone through the teaching process, you haven't been educated as an instructor, you might not know how valuable this is. Maybe on a theoretical level, you think, I definitely need to hear back from my instructor to know how I'm doing and how I can build. But you may not know all the specifics of how that feedback should look and how essential that is. So let's just take a minute to establish why it's so important. As you go through your studies, we all form our habits. We all form habits of study, habits for our speaking. And so we get into what you call like a rut, a habit where you're just constantly almost stuck in this thing. So for example, it might be that you forget your articles all the time, or you switch up what type of article you need to use, or you forget that when you say can, you shouldn't say can to after, you should just use the simple form of the verb. These are all common things that people maybe know, they studied, they did the exercises, they passed the test, but it's a little bit harder for them to use it in real time in conversations. So this is where feedback comes in, because feedback is not just on a test. Feedback is your instructor constantly taking time out to tell you, okay, these are the things that I'm seeing, and this is how I need you to work on them. And this is going to be our plan for improving these couple of aspects that I see you really need to focus on. Okay, so that's really important in terms of using your time and respecting your time, moreover, and making sure that your practice is productive and that it really is effective. So we're going to talk a little bit today on just some of the basics. There are lists and best practices that as instructors we know about, and we know how we're supposed to give feedback. But as a learner, you need to look out for these things too, to make sure that you are with a teacher that's really taking in mind what your needs are and really supporting your process, so you don't wind up in a plateau. You're working, but you're not seeing the results because you're not getting the feedback that you need to get those results. So in order to avoid that, not only do you need a teacher that's going to give you feedback, they take time basically during every single step of the class to say, that was excellent. I really like how you pronounced that word. I like your pacing today. I think you need to work a little bit on your pronunciation of the TH sound. So we're going to work on the vibrated TH sounds today. Here's a list of words. When you go home, I'd like you to do this exercise in this way to support that learning. So what I just did there should be going on constantly during your class. If you're hearing things like, oh, that's great, awesome, fantastic, that's great, that is feedback. But there's more to it that you need. So the first thing that you need is you need something that is going to be understandable to you. You really get what the teacher is saying the mistake was, and you also really understand how you're going to be practicing that in the future. So it needs to be understandable. It also needs to be specific. Comments like awesome and fabulous job, those aren't specific. Fabulous job, I really like how you used the new vocabulary. All of the adjectives that you used were perfectly used in the sentence, and they made great sense and they were in the right position. That's specific, not just awesome, I like the adjectives. So you want to make sure that your teacher is really giving you this very specific feedback as you go along through the process in each and everything that you do, so you know, okay, I'm doing this really well, or I have a little bit of room for growth here, and this is how we're going to work on it. The other thing is this, like I said, should be going on constantly. This is ongoing. So it shouldn't just be one day that this happens. You shouldn't have a check-in once a month, or you shouldn't just have one evaluation. There should be many ways that you're getting feedback during the entire process of the class. And it should be a balance, right? Because you should get feedback on what you're doing wrong and how to improve it, but then also get feedback on what you're doing right so you can continue that process. In my classes, I try during the entire class, during each and every exercise and theme that we cover to really give feedback to the clients so that they know, okay, for next time, this is what I need to do. And right now I'm doing this and it's perfect. I need to keep that up. And then at the end of the class, we actually do a little summary as well. This is what I've heard from you. I think you're doing a great job. Let's take this feedback for these couple of areas you need to work on, and we're going to form a plan for your practice. So that's the other part. There is a plan for practice afterwards. So it's great that it's timely and you're hearing it ongoing and they're being specific, but now what do I do about it? And so that's the last thing. There are a lot more things, but the essential group that you really need to look for is that someone is giving specific, timely, reoccurring, and also giving you these pieces of advice with a plan for improvement. And when I say a plan for improvement, this is not just that they've decided that this exercise would be good. You need to make sure that you're working with a professional that has best practices in mind. So they're not relying on, something we did 20 years ago, unless that's still proven to be effective. They're in continuous training. They're continuously interacting with other professionals to make sure that you're getting the up-to-the-moment best methodology, and that when they give you a critique about what you need to work on, they're also giving you a plan that will respect your time, respect your efforts, and be as effective as possible because it's based in best practices, right? It's not just based on their opinion. That's very subjective. It's research-based. So I wish you a lot of luck. Please keep these things in mind so that your time is respected and you see the results that you want to see. Keep it up and see you next time. Thank you again. Bye-bye.